So today we'll talk about architectural principles. So basically, what is architecture? Architecture is considered a visual art like painting and sculpture. Architects design buildings using a creative process by which they manipulate art elements to create a unified and pleasing artistic statement. The difference between a painting and architecture is that a building has a function and must be designed with safety in mind. When architects start working on a project, they prepare quick sketches that suggest the areas of function dictated by the client. Next, architects use a process of design to draw and then refine the form of the new building. Understanding architectural design is simplified if you think of the facade or face of the building as a painting. That means what they are saying is that they are comparing architecture with creative works like painting and sculpture. So what architects basically do, they plan or they create or they design structures according to their functions. Different structures have different functions. Residential buildings have different functions. Commercial buildings have different functions. So based on their different functions, the architects prepare or plan a particular structure according to their functions, as well as at the same time they plan the structure to be aesthetically beautiful, to be aesthetically pleasing. These are the two main aim of an architect. Ideas are brought into reality through drawing. A beautiful drawing, a set of apartments, hospitals, schools, cinema halls, etc. are all transformation of ideas into reality through the art of technical drawing. So how shall an architect express his ideas, express his views, expresses his planning? It has to be through proper architectural drawings. The idea is given shape on paper and all its merits and demerits are examined before putting it into the field for construction in brick, mortar, RCC or any other materials. So first of all, proper planning is done and that planning is transported into drawings. And after finalizing the drawing only, the construction begins. So first of all, the planning, after the planning, the drawing starts, and after the drawing has been completed, then only we can start the execution of the project. So what are the principles of architecture? Number one, functional planning. Number two, structural durability. Number three, essential service. Number four, outward appearance or aesthetics. And number five, economy. Number one is written here as fraction planning. It is not fraction planning, it is functional planning. Okay, please correct it. The best utilization of spaces according to needs is aimed at while planning a building. Form follows function principle is used. Thus, it is important that the purpose for which the building is to be used is determined first. Normally, buildings serve as residential, educational, factories, offices, stations for railways, hospitals, market, recreational, airports, shipyards, etc. There are many more types besides these types also. Thus, function forms the shape and the planning of the building. That means the shape and size of the building, the basic form of the building, will depend upon its function. The shape and size of an educational building will not be same as the shape and size of a residential building. The shape and size of a hospital building will not be same as the shape and size of a marketplace. So based on the function, proper planning is done. Number two, structural durability. A building is required to be durable and strong. It is understandable. It is the job of a structural designer to decide the type of the construction to be adopted. A building can be made with a load-bearing wall. They're talking about the different items here, RCC, steel or wooden. Okay, so this point is simply understandable. Number three, essential services. Of course, sanitary, water supply, electricity, heat and sound insulations also required in some places, just like cinema halls or auditoriums where sound insulation is very important. These essential services from the essential services of a building. Provision is thus made to accommodate these services without causing any loss to the utility of the building. So architect does not only plans for the spaces, he also has to do proper planning for the essential services like water supply, electricity, sanitary, sound insulation, etc. So he has to do the planning of the particular building with keeping in mind the essential services. Number 4, outward appearance, which is very understandable. Efforts are made to make a building look beautiful and lively. It is so designed that it suits its surroundings. So, what is the difference between an architectural drawing and a drawing prepared by any layman, any simple person? Whenever we go to an architect to prepare a drawing, it is our expectation. It is our expectation that our building will be aesthetically pleasing. Our building will be aesthetically beautiful. So it is a very important part of architecture, a very important duty of architecture to make the building look aesthetically pleasing. Number 5, which is also a very important point, economy. A building is always planned and designed as an economic structure. To ascertain this estimate of quantities are worked out and abstract of cost is prepared. You have already studied these things in estimating. Cost of a building can be kept within the budget by adopting the following remedies. That means the cost of a particular building can be reduced if we take the following steps. What are those steps? Size of the building should be reduced. Okay, if it is possible, then unnecessary spaces which doesn't have very too much of function, we need to eliminate those unnecessary spaces, as a result of which the size of the building will be reduced, as a result of which the cost of the building will be also reduced. B, specifications may be changed. So what do you mean by specifications? Specifications mean the construction specifications, the size of the column, or the size of the beam, the size of the staircase, or any other construction specifications. If they can be reduced, it is the actually duty of the structural engineer to keep the structure economical. Point C, construction work may be done in phases. So if we divide the construction work in phases, it will be a proper planned structure, and hence there will not be any chaos at the construction site, and the cost of the construction can be controlled. Point D, services may be kept to the minimum utility limit. So what point D basically means is that if we can keep some services to a limited point, then also the cost of the project can be reduced. Suppose we are planning a big education building, and suppose people are suggesting that we need to go for 3 numbers of staircases. But if it is possible to reduce the number of staircases to 2 numbers of staircases, then also the cost of the building can be reduced. And at the same time, it's going to be conventional for the users if we go for 2 numbers of staircases. So in that way, the cost can be reduced. Suppose we are providing lighting in a particular room, and numbers of LED lights, suppose we are providing 5 numbers of LED lights in a particular room, and that is sufficient. So we don't need to go for 7 or 8 numbers of LED lights. Suppose 2 numbers of ceiling fans are enough for a room of 100 square feet. So we don't need to go for more than that. We don't need to go for 3 or 4 numbers of ceiling fans. So in that way, if we can limit the number of facilities in the particular building, then also the cost of the project can be reduced.